Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are. Uh-oh. Why are we still in this earth only to suffer? So, yeah, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are and wherever you are. And unfortunately, I lost my voice overnight, and it's a terrible feeling. So, apologize if I may have to make this into an ASMR video. Please forgive me if my voice is very raspy. I'm not feeling well today. Anyhow, I left off last video where we created three sprites already. We, yeah, so I created the enemy sprite, the player sprite, and the wall sprite. And we also created the three objects, the enemy object, the player object, as well as the wall object. And what we need to do now is we're going to add some code snippets to make these functionable and working. Alright, so how do we do this? Alright, first we just click on the object player, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on the events button. We're going to be adding an event here. So for your context, an event is basically anything that may trigger an event. Alright, so in order for us to add an event, simply just press add event. Alright, so it could be something like a step event, an alarm, a draw event. It could be a mouse button press, left down, left pressed, or left released. It could also be a key down, which is it could be pressing the up, down, left, right buttons. And we could also change this into key pressed. The difference between key down and key press is key down is basically the event is searching for the key to be pressed or to be held. So once it's being held, uh, it's going to trigger continuously. And key pressed triggers only once the keyboard is being pressed. Key up is basically pressing the key up, and I suppose that's self-explanatory. Alright, I will also be including these events on the handouts so you guys can check it out, alright? I'm really sorry about my SMR voice. I'm I'm not feeling well. Okay, anyway. Suppose we want the player to move around when we press the W key. So we're going to press add event, and we're going to press key down, and we're going to select a letter, and we're going to select the letter W. Okay, don't worry about this, just simply press the GML code for now. We can actually experiment on GML visual later. It's going to focus more on the drag and drop aspect of Game Maker Studio, which is really good. So for now, we're just going to do GML code. Alright. Okay. And then, so basically, what this is what happens when we press key down. It's going to trigger this code snippet. And for this, we're just basically going to do Y plus plus. Okay, so we are basically moving the player up. We're basically increasing the Y coordinate of the player. Alright, so we're gonna save this, Control S, or you can go to File and then Save. And then I'm going to duplicate this event, and we're going to change this into down and then letter S, and then we're going to press, or going to change this to Y minus minus, which is a decrement operator in GameMaker Studio. So when we play this game, what happens is our player goes, oh, I think I might have switched it by accident. I'm sorry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it off, switch it around. Going to change this to Y++. I forgot in GameMaker Studio, the Y directions are inverted. Alright, let's try it now. Okay, so holding S moves the player down, and moving W moves the player up, right? So what we can do is we can increase this a little bit more by changing the increment operator into another increment, but by this time we're changing this into a number instead of just y plus plus and y minus minus. So what I'm gonna do is sorry, I think I might have switched it around again. We're going to do y plus equals 5. So that should increase our speed a little bit. Basically what's happening is we're increasing or decreasing the y coordinate by 5. Alright? Okay. So as you can see, it's a little bit faster, but I think it's a little bit too fast for my taste. So in order to make this a little bit more simple, we're going to change this into a variable. Alright? So instead of changing the 5 immediately, we're going to change it into SPD. And we're going to do that with the other one as well. Change this into SPD. SPD. Alright. Now, let's create an add event. We're gonna add an event and we're gonna press the create event. So basically, the create event is the initialization method or initialization function for this object. What we're going to do is basically we're going to assign the variables. We're going to assign specific values to the variables that we're going to use. And this is basically what we call a local variable. Alright? Or, yeah. So, I think it's also called an instance variable. But for instances, it's going to be more specific to the instance that we created. And we can set that during the actual instance setting in the room. But for now, we're going to make this into a local variable. So we're going to change this to 3. And basically, the key down, both of these should be able to read the SPD variable as 3. Alright? Alright. Okay, so as you can see, it's a little bit slower. I'm going to change this into 10 just to make it a little bit more obvious. Okay, see? Alright. Now my challenge is for you guys to do the same thing with the A and D buttons. So the player, when they press the A and D, they should move left and right. So if we use the Y and increment operator, what should we be using for horizontal movement? I'm gonna give you guys a few seconds to figure it out, alright? So basically, yeah, take the time and think about it. Yeah. Just grab my water bottle over here. Stay hydrated, kids. basically we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a key down, and we want to choose the letter A. And sorry, it should be key down. So we can actually change the event to key down, and then change it to letter A, and then do this again. Duplicate the event, key down, and then letter D. Alright, lovely. So A, it's supposed to be yeah, we're going to decrement by SPD, and then we're also going to increment. Okay, sorry, I think I messed it. I messed it up again. Sorry. All right. Okay. And we're going to subtract this time. It's SPD. Okay, and we're going to tune it a little bit. Instead of 5, we're going to make it maybe something like 4. All right, let's do that. Okay. Right, lovely. So we now have a perfectly moving character. I think I might have to change it back to 3. This is a little bit too fast. It's like the players, are running around. Maybe let's make it into something like 2.5 to match the original game speed. Okay, I think that feels a little bit more appropriate, I suppose. Okay, lovely. Okay, we also don't want the player to go through the walls, right? So we're going to add a little bit of a logic for this, and with that it's going to involve a little bit of logic checking. All right. So basically, if you guys remember the what do you call this? The if and else operators. It's important that we do some if else statements for us to check for walls. Okay, so how do we do that? So basically what we're going to do is we're going to check for a specific object in a specific location, and if there's no object over there, we can actually move towards it. Alright, so I guess this would be the smartest way to do it, because basically before we move to another location, or if the player moves to another location, we need to check first if there's an object there, so that the player doesn't go into the walls. There are other ways to do this. We can do bounds, we can do something like physics, but for now the best thing that we can do is just to check for collisions. Alright, so remember that we have the object wall, and we're going to use this as our reference object. So in your handouts there is a script there you can copy. Alright, it's a little bit, it's not that long, so just go copy it, and we're going to go to the key down, the event. Okay, and then we're going to paste this. Okay, so basically we named it object wall, right? But remember that Game Maker Studio is a little bit Game Maker Studio is spelling very what do you call this, case sensitive. So we're gonna change the small W to a big W. Alright. But I might have adjusted this already in the snippets. I'm not sure though. So if this is a small W, just make sure it matches the wall object. Alright. Alright. So if basically what we're doing here is we're checking, we're going to change this to speed. We're going to check if object wall over there. If there is no wall over there, we're using the not operator. If you can remember, not negates the specific condition. So if there is no wall, we're going to move to the right. But if there is no wall, if there's a wall, we should not move at all. All right. So yeah, it should cancel it out. All right. So let's try to test it out. I'm gonna go back into our room. Here we go. And I'm going to add a wall object over here. Alright, so let's see if the player will go through this wall object or not. Okay, so the player can move. So we're going to test it out. Okay, see, the player is not moving into the wall as supposed to. But the problem is we haven't implemented the collision checking in the up, down, and in the left. So watch this. The player is going to face through the wall. And we can't go back because it's already checking the wall and it sees a wall over there. So it's basically bumping into the wall, or like it's not gonna allow the player to move into the wall. Alright, so we gotta fix this. Alright, so going back to the object wall, let's do something. What I'm going to do is we're going to create, this is a little bit advanced, but you can do this manually if you want. You can copy, paste these snippets, but I'm going to introduce to you guys scripts. Alright, just for a while so that you guys can understand and get a hang of it. So basically we can create a new script. This is going to be something like a function, something that we can call. Okay, excuse me, my nose is a little bit, runny. Alright, so we're going to name our script SCR wall check. Okay, so it's going to check for walls, and we're going to implement an argument here. Alright. So functions basically in GameMaker, they're very helpful because you can reuse the code. And I think that's very efficient for us because we don't have to write too much code. Okay. So it's very important for us to think about efficiency in the future. But for now, because this is your first game, we don't necessarily have to do this. You can, just like I said, you can just copy over the snippets. But if you want to learn how to make this a little bit more efficient, we can do this. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to add the arguments that we will be using here. So I'm going to do what object are we going to check? So we're going to call I'm gonna name this object to check. Alright. So basically, we're going to pass this to the function if you already know functions. Alright. And then we are also going to indicate another variable. Okay. So it's going to be like the variable that we are going to move around. Alright. So I'm gonna call this direction, or this just name it direction. Yeah. I forgot. Sorry. In GameMaker, there are already predefined directions or predefined variables, constants that are already built in for you to use. But for this one, we don't want this to mess with our current direction, so we're just going to do like direct XY. Alright, just gonna name it direct XY, and this going to be is positive. This is going to be a bull. All right. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to do all of the logic here inside of the function, and then we're just going to distribute it to the events with specific arguments, and I guess that makes it a little bit more efficient. Alright, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have an if statement here. So if direct xy, so this is going to be a string. So if it's equal to x, so if it's equal to x, then wait, are we should we actually just make it a string though? Because if we don't make it a string, maybe we can just pass the actual variable over there and then just figure out if it's positive or negative. Alright, so let's change this a little bit. Instead of checking for a string, let's check if it's a boolean. Let's check for is positive. Okay, so if it's positive, what's going to happen is if it's positive, then we move it to the right or up. So we're going to do direct, or I think it would much be better to do return return a okay, let me think. It's positive. Okay, what exactly are we doing? We're trying to check for the walls. Okay. If it's positive, then basically we're not supposed to move around, right? Alright, then what we're going to do is we're going to H. Just give me a second. Okay, basically we're checking for walls. And what we need to do, okay, sorry about that. If it's positive, it's supposed to basically move the character, right? But the question is this actually just a function for checking walls? Or is it also a function for returning a specific variable? Alright, so if it's gonna be just a wall check, then we basically just have to return true or false, right? Alright, so I'm gonna do if direct xy is positive, is going to make it positive or negative, right? If direction xy, and then we have a collision, right? So we're going to go back to our collision check, right? So we're gonna copy this the code again. If okay, then I am starting to understand now. We're basically checking for a specific direction, right? Alright, so for us to resolve this, I think we have to we need the specific variables, okay? Direct x should be direct xy should be equal to x or y, right? And then positive is it basically true or false? And then the object to check should be equal to whatever it is we're checking. this case, it's gonna be like the object wall. Okay, so how do we do that? We're going to check a specific direction, if it's X or Y. Alright. Alright, I think we have to also send in we need to add another variable. Call this the speed check. Speed, send. Alright. Okay, good. So now we're trying to figure out how to implement this already, or how to continue the function. We're going to go back and put the place meeting over here. Okay, and instead of okay, I think I know how. Okay, we're gonna do an if else statement first. If direct going back, I think it's pretty much basically we have to go and change X and Y. Excuse me. Anyway, I think we have to change X, Y to a string again. Okay. If direct X, Y is equal to X. Okay. Then we're basically checking if the horizontal, right? Horizontal axis. Then what we're going to do is we're going to copy the place meeting. Okay. X, since this is X, we're going to do the SPD check over here, and then we're going to pass in our object check function, or should I say the variable, right? Okay. Speed check. Okay, I think I'm starting to figure it out a little bit better. Okay, so let's just copy paste this. Don't worry, it's not like Python, where it's very strict with the indentation. That's the great thing about Gmail. As you notice, I didn't even have to add semicolons at all. But if you want to, you can. It's not gonna cause an error at all, I suppose, I think. Okay, so basically, if it's X, we're going to speed check the X and Y. Alright. Okay, but we have a problem. How does it know if it's checking a positive number or a negative number? If it's actually checking up or down, or, positive or negative values. So that's where is positive comes in. Alright. We're going to add in another if else statement inside. Because we're trying to account for all of the possible outcomes, right? So in this case, if is positive is true, which means it's we're checking for a positive number, we're going to do place meeting plus speed check, and if it's negative, then it should be negative speed check. All right, and then if it's Y, then we need to do the same thing. I'm gonna copy this over. Okay, just to make this a little bit more easier to read. Basically, we have two. I'm gonna do this a little bit to make it prettier. All right, easier to understand. And then we have an if statement over here. stop and remove this positive. Okay. Alright, so basically what I'm doing is just indentation. It's not really that important, but just so you guys can read it a little bit better. Alright, so now we have the script over here. And what happens is we are doing plus negative. Okay. If it's positive, we do a positive speed check. If it's negative, we do a negative speed check. Or if this is false. So basically now we have to move this over to Y. Okay, and if it's negative, alright, this is gonna throw an error because these variables that the function doesn't know it, right? So yeah. Okay, so basically the logic is we are first checking if it's an X or Y direction. If the direct XY is a X ring, we're basically checking the X. If it's then we're going to check if it's positive. If it's positive, we are going to check sorry. I think it glitched out there. Sorry about that. Anyway, if it's negative, we're checking if it's also positive or negative, and then we're going to do this. We're going to do the following logic. If it's positive, do a positive speed check. We're checking up, and if it's not, then we're checking down. All right. So this is basically down. This is up, and then this is gonna be right and left. Okay, I realized something. The problem is it's inverted, remember? So we have to make this negative and we have to make this positive. Alright. Okay, so I guess that should be like the final thing. Right? So I forgot to add another bracket over there. Alright. Alright, let's test it out. I'm going to go back to our object player and then inside of this watch, you could have actually just did this a while ago, but in our case, in this, okay, we're gonna do this wall check. Okay, so as you can see here, what I did is basically I pressed the middle mouse button. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it with a map, but in Windows, it's basically middle mouse button. You can actually track your functions and open it in another window. Okay, so wall check, right? Once again, these are the parameters, right? Okay. Okay, and it's going to return the place. We're going to wall check, okay. Alright, so basically, wall check for first what object? OBJ wall, right? Okay, now what's next? Direction X or Y. So since this is D is horizontal. Basically, it's an X. And is it positive? Positive to the right. Yes, it's true. And what is the speed? Alright, speed. Alright, it's going to return this specific thing. Alright. And what we can do now is we can wrap it around. X plus minus. Since this is positive, we do speed, right? Okay. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to the other ones and change this a little bit. Because this is 8 and therefore it is false, right? It's going to the left direction, so it's X is positive in this case, so it should be positive. And if it's Y, it should be false. Because it's, yeah, basically there. Okay, let's just it out. It should work now. But there is a possibility that it might, it might not exactly work, so. Okay. We're doing it. We're doing it. Okay, I think there's a problem though. I think I accidentally forgot to change the, yeah, this one. I forgot that. Sorry about that. Alright. Control S and then F5. Or Command 5 in the Mac, I think. I'm not sure. Right. Okay, so. Actually getting stuck in the wall. That's weird. It's working for the left one. Yeah, so basically A and D is working, but W and S, I think. I think I know why. Basically, there's something called the collision radius for your player. Something we have to adjust a little bit. So the player is. We need to set the collision mask of the player. Excuse me. Okay, so basically, what happens is the player is like clipping into the wall, unfortunately. So what we need to do is we have to set the collision mask and we have to change it to automatic. Or, sorry, not automatic, we're gonna make it to manual and we can change it a little bit like this. Okay. Alright, let's test it out. We're trying to make the hitbox a little bit more tolerable. Okay. I think this thing is a little bit broken. I think there's something wrong with the logic. Let's try to debug it a little bit. If it is positive, I think it's got something to do with the logic. If Y is positive, it should move downwards, right? Okay, I think I messed it up by accident. Huh? I know it's inverted, but what exactly are we checking? If it's positive, then it should be positive, right? Regardless. And yeah, let's try to check it out. Ah, yeah, okay, so it's working perfectly now, right? As you can see. Yeah, but the player seems to be clipping out a little bit. So if we want to fix that and make sure the player doesn't, the collision box of the player, I think we have to go back and change the collision mask again and make it full sized again. Sorry. Alright, so in the future, if you want to change your player's hitbox, this is very handy. Change the collision to automatic, so it's just going to select this entire player, the visible part of the player. But the problem is, when you have an animation, the collision mask might be different for each animated sprite, you know. Alright, there we go. So we now have a moving player. And how about our enemies? How do we make them move? Alright. For our enemies, we want them to chase the player around, right? So we're going to assign a specific function that will check if the player is actually nearby. And if not, the player, it should not follow the player. So it's basically like a Minecraft zombie. You know, there's a, what do you call it, detection or aggro range. If the zombie is inside of the, if the player is inside of the aggro range of the zombie, it's going to follow the player it's not gonna follow the player around. All right. So yeah. So I guess I will be cutting this video for now so that you can check out the next video and we can focus on the other tasks such as the enemy movement and maybe how we can add shooting as well and then scoring. All right. So sorry if it's a little bit long, but yeah, this is how you actually add more features and functions to your game. So thank you so much for watching, and once again, I apologize for the ASMR voice. I'm really sorry about that. I hope you guys are able to understand this video nonetheless. Alright, and I will see you guys on the next